Welcome back to Thunder and Lightning. Today we're going to do some gin. Welcome back, Dunderheads, to another episode of Thunder and Lightning, where we talk all things distilling. Today we're going to do a gin. A little bit of a different gin today. It was something that was recommended by an English friend of mine back from the pommy old land of England, who wanted a Jaffa cake gin. Now, most of you out there in YouTube land will know Jaffas most likely as these bad boys right here. The chocolate, the red chocolate ball. But these are what he was talking about. Jaffa cakes, same flavour, but basically it's a thin cake with a layer of orange marmalade and a chocolate covering. So that's what a Jaffa cake is. Pretty interesting. Looked into it. There's already a Jaffa cake gin out there on the market, and I had a little bit of that while I was at his house. It's very syrupy. Obviously very commercial. It's quite nice, but it's not something I could have drank all night. Probably just a one-off. So I wanted to make something similar, but make it a little bit more drinkable, and a little bit more, what's the word? Just got a little bit more character to it. So put my head into gear and thought about that over the last couple of weeks, and I've come up with a recipe I think is going to work. So hang on there, and we'll get to that in just a second. I just wanted to go over a couple of things as far as gin is concerned. Gin is defined as a distilled spirit that gets most of its flavour from the juniper berry. So if you don't like juniper, you can dial the juniper back. It's not a problem. Some drinks, like a London Dry, is really going to punch you in the face with juniper. But there's quite a few gins out there now that just use it as kind of that. It's still quite predominant, but it's that background that kind of hugs everything else kind of thing. So that's what it's defined as. So we need to work on that today. And there are two methods of making gin. There are three. So you got vapor infusion, where you put your fruits, peels, spices, herbs in the column, sometimes in a gin basket. There's other ways of doing it. You put it in the column, so when the boiler boils, vapor goes up through the column, picks up all the flavors and the oils of the stuff that you've put in there, and it comes out and you've got yourself a gin. You can also do maceration, where you put all the same stuff in the boiler, sits in the boiler for 24 hours, a couple of days, whatever. You boil up the boiler, it goes up, and your distillate comes out as what the flavor is in the boiler. So that's pretty much it. There's another one, it's called steeping. We're not going to do that because it doesn't really involve distilling. You get your distilled spirit already in neutral, and then you just add stuff to it and you let it float around in there, and then you just strain it off and you drink that, which is fine. You can do that at home. But we're all about distilling here, so we're going to do distilling. We're going to do both vapor and maceration today. I'll post some links in the video below, or in the video description below, sorry, and it'll run you through different flavor profiles and stuff like that. I like to put my peels in the column because I think I get a better, more vibrant flavor out of citrus whilst it's in the column. Not so much in the pot, just because sometimes it comes off a little bit more stewed and a little bit duller, if that makes sense. Different flavors react differently, whether it's in the column or in the boiler. If you've got an issue with anything I'm saying here, feel free to comment. I've been doing gins for probably 3 years. I've done a bunch of different ones, and this is what works for me. I would recommend getting yourself one of these. It's just a blank notebook, and then basically you can write all of your recipes down as you go and rate them and make notes as to what worked, what didn't, what would you improve on, that type of thing. So wholeheartedly recommend getting yourself a notebook. Anyway, that's enough bullshit from me. I thought I'd just do a little bit on gin because, you know, if you're not into it, a bit of information for you. If not, tell me to f*** off and let's get to it. Boom! Start of the show, the Juniper berry. Try and get fresh ones, but I can only get my hands on dried most of the time. They are strong, so watch your ratios. Cocoa powder, never used it in a still before, so this should be interesting. In theory, it should work, yeah? We'll see how we go. But yeah, that's the thought process anyway. The coffee is to boost the chocolate flavour. You do it in cakes, you do it in baking, so I thought it might work here. The big star of the show, the orange. I've been peeling some fresh oranges off my tree for the last week or so. So we're going to put them in the still, and I think we're going to get a really good result with that orange flavour. I'm going to chuck some cloves, cardamom and cinnamon in there, just as a bit of a boost to that, you know, character we were talking about. Vanilla beans, get some good ones. A little bit expensive, but it's worth the price. Some star anise, and of course, the main man, some Jaffa cakes. Alright, let's get this done! Woo! What you want to do first is fill your boiler up with 40% alcohol. I'm going to 25 litres of 40% here. And I'm using the TPW from our last video. If you haven't seen that, click on the link here. And then we're going to put in the botanicals. I'm going to start with 500 grams of 100% cocoa powder. And we're going to put 1 cup of instant coffee in. You can use espresso if you want, but this is all I had at the time. Chuck that in the boiler. We're going to throw in 2 star anise, a cinnamon stick, 6 cloves, and 1 vanilla pod, and about 6 to 8 cardamom seeds into the boiler. We're then going to throw in 100 grams of orange peel and 90 grams of dried juniper berry. We're going to grab one of the vanilla beans, slice it down the middle, and we're going to throw that in as well. Then, give it a big stir, chuck the lid on, and let it sit for about 24 to 36 hours. I actually heated this up to about 40 degrees and just let it cool back down. So I wanted to get those oils out. Now we're going to work on our vapor basket or gin basket. Handmade. Get some cheesecloth and some butcher's twine. We're going to chuck in a little bit of the vanilla pod again. This is all about reinforcing those flavors we put in the boiler. A little bit of the star anise, not a whole one. A couple of cloves, some cardamom seeds, and of course some more orange zest. I only put maybe a quarter of an orange zest on there. And then we're going to get the Jaffa cakes and we're going to break them up. And we're going to put them on top. I don't want a lot of this chocolate seeping down into the boiler because then it might burn on the bottom of the boiler as the still is going, and I don't think that's going to be very good for the still. We're going to tie that bad boy up and we're going to thread it through the top of the pot head and out the end. We're going to pull that up, and when you want it kind of firm up against the where the column's going to sit, not tight. We don't want to restrict the vapor going up through the channel. Chuck everything down, put your tri-clamp back on, and I just basically wind it up around the tri-clamp, and then turn your still on, baby. I didn't do a video of me making cuts, but as this was running, the smell changed dramatically throughout the run. It started off very orange,
very kind of like cleaning orange product, if that makes sense. Then it turned straight into like an orange biscuit, and it was, I can't explain to you how nice this all smelled. It smelled like a bakery in my house. It went from the orange biscuit into all the spices that we've put in there, the cinnamon, the cardamom, the star anise, all that stuff. You could start having that come out quite predominantly about halfway through, and that kind of stayed there. It started going back into the chocolate orange section towards the end, and then finally at the very end I was getting a little bit worried that there wasn't enough chocolate in there to complete the Jaffa cake gin. But at the very end, just before the tails hit, I got about 1 or 2 jars of very sweet chocolate flavors, cocoa, and like a little bit of bitterness in there as well. So it was, guys, just that alone makes your house smell amazing, and I would try this recipe just for that.
It's done. Mixed it together, let it sit in a pot for about 24 hours so all those flavors mingle, you know what I'm saying? And then I've watered it down to about 41%. I don't know if you can see here on the video, but it's gone a little bit hazy, so I probably should have stopped at about 45. But I made notes in my notebook, and next time I do this, and I will do this again, I'll know. So, happy days. The smell, just so you know, I've watered this down with a bit of tonic water. That's how I drink my gin. So it's settle Gretel, okay? I'm not drinking it straight. Sue me. I've watered it down with some tonic water. And sometimes I feel the effervescence of the soda water or the tonic kind of brings out the flavour a bit more, and the smell is easier. This is a bloody good gin. I'm not going to lie and be modest. Far past that. This is amazing. Starts out vibrant orange into like spice, aniseed, clove, all the good stuff we put in there. And then at the very end, you just get that slight whiff of chocolate. And it's a fantastic perfume. It's a great aroma, really. It smells exactly like a liquefied Jaffa cake, which that was the brief. So we've knocked the smell in. We've ticked that box. If you like gin, I don't think you're not going to like this. If that makes sense. Or I might have already had a couple of these too many. Again, the taste goes along the same lines as the smell. Vibrant orange, aniseed. It's a slight, I think I can slightly taste the ginger in there. Vanilla, clove, then chocolate at the end. And the chocolate stays around in your mouth. And it's just a pleasant aftertaste. It's fantastic. I've made a few gins over the years, and I've gotten fairly good at it. I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but I sometimes give my friends a taste and they say the same thing is quite good. I put that down to making harsh cuts on the neutral, making sure that there's no rubbish in there whatsoever. So anything rubbish in the neutral and you put it into the boiler, you're going to get some more rubbish come out at the end when you're doing your gin. I used about 95% of the stuff that came out of the boiler. There wasn't much I didn't use. There's probably the first jar of heads, and then from there nothing. And when it went under 50% on the run and it already went cloudy, you could see the tails coming in. It was rubbish. Pretty much almost bang on the 50% and under, which is where I normally make that cut. But this time that jar, bang 50%, that was rubbish. So I didn't go too much further. I didn't need to. What I already had was the flavors I wanted in the gin. So make sure you make your cuts properly, guys, because If you don't do that, you're not going to get a good final product. I think this is fantastic. If you like a gin, I think this is going to tick your box as well. There's juniper in there as well, and I think it enhances the flavor of the orange, if that makes sense. Kind of like when salt and chocolate goes together, or salt and caramel, like salt and sweet. I think that the juniper there, because juniper's quite tart, it kind of helps the orange. I know an orange is quite tart as well. It's hard to explain. Anyway, it bloody enhances it, okay? Just listen to me. So give it a whirl. I think this is a pretty good recipe. I'll list the recipe down below, or if you've watched the whole video, happy days. You know what to do. Just do that. Easy. If you've got any gripes with what I've done, any comments, if you just want to sit here and complain, then I'm happy to listen. But we've got too much badness happening in the world at the moment. And frankly, if you want to say something nice, I'd appreciate it. Give my page, or not give my page, hit the subscribe button. That would also help me out and give me a little bit of a rev up to do the next one. I've done about 5 or 6 of these already. We're almost up to 300 subscribers, which I'm pretty bloody happy with. I love yous all. Anyway, cheers. Have a good one.